Brian Neubert here from GoldenBlock.com, live in Bankers Life Fieldhouse following Purdue's 88-78 win in the Crossroads Classic over Notre Dame. Keeping my voice down because there's people working up here. There's like three of us in the whole arena, so everything I say you can hear on the other side of the arena. So I'm trying to not distract my colleagues in the media here. So we'll do a quick wrap video, obviously following this rare Crossroads Classic breakthrough for Purdue. They've historically not been very good in this event, but they were good enough today, obviously, to get a pretty important win. This is, I want to mention our sponsor first off, the Purdue Union Club Hotel. If you're looking for somewhere to stay next time you come to campus, hopefully when things are a little more normal, please keep in mind the newly renovated Purdue Union Club Hotel. So with all that being said, this is your wrap video, again, following Purdue's 88-78 win over the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. Purdue improves to 1-2 this season against the ACC. Did so for a lot of reasons. The first one, above all else, is simply this, and it's a very, very basic thing. Purdue took care of the basketball. Purdue committed 6 turnovers for the game, went like 8 minutes or whatever it was to start the game without committing a turnover. If I recall correctly, and Dylan Sin from the Fort Wayne newspaper was kind enough to look this up for me to confirm, Purdue had 1 live ball turnover, which is pretty remarkable, especially when you consider where Purdue has been in terms of simply throwing the ball to no one, dribbling the ball off their foot, throwing it away, things like that. You'd always prefer a dead ball turnover over a live ball turnover, preferably no turnovers, but Purdue had no live ball or 1 live ball turnover. Purdue had 0 turnovers from its guards, which is pretty good. Granted, Notre Dame is not the highest pressure defensive team in college basketball. It is not the best defensive team in college basketball, but 6 turnovers against a grade school team, would be acceptable. No turnovers from your guards on the playground would be remarkable. Just a really good job by Purdue taking care of the basketball, and it reflects what I think a lot of us could have suspected about this team, is that when they just take care of the basketball, they are pretty damn good offensively. And I think they have done a about face from an offensive perspective from last season. Now, especially that Trevion Williams is playing the way Trevion Williams is playing. And it has simply had to do with taking care of the basketball. When they simply have the ball, I think they're going to be a good enough offensive team to beat a lot of people this year. Whether they will or not, we'll see. But I think they're good enough offensively. They have 2 really well-established post scorers. They have shooters all around them. And they have a lot of tools offensively to be really good. 88 points is a lot of points. You would prefer to have not given up 78, but it was a pretty high possessions game, I think. But Purdue's pretty good offensively when it just has the ball. I mean, there's no more fundamental need in basketball than simply possessing it. And that is the area of the game where Purdue simply hasn't been giving itself a fair shake. Tonight, it gives itself more than a fair shake, and look what happens. They score 88 points. They shoot 49% from the floor. They were up around the 70s there for most of the first half. Just a really good offensive showing by Purdue, and something obviously it hopes to use as a glowing teaching tool here. Hey, when you have the ball, when you don't turn the ball over, this is what you're capable of. And all of Purdue's players should know that. They should have known it before today, but now they should really know it, and they should treat that thing like it is an egg from the golden goose, because possessing it is simply, that was really bad. Possessing it is simply the most important thing Purdue can do here. So that's fairly obvious, but I think it's the most important thing to talk about from this game, first off. Second, the continuation of Purdue showing a defensive pulse. I know 78 points doesn't exactly scream, hey, they did a great job on defense, but Prentice Hub, didn't score. And when you have a really highly influential guard who is basically the centerpiece of your defensive scouting report, and he does nothing, essentially, that's a pretty damn good job by your team from a defensive perspective. A really good job leading the charge from Eric Hunter, but it's never a one-man deal. The big guys have to do their part of it, and seem to do a really good job of that today. Other people in switches have to do a good job. Everyone did a good job. It was a team defensive effort, but I think Eric Hunter deserves the majority of the credit for the job he did one-on-one. Why did Notre Dame score 78 points and Purdue did such a good job defensively? Well, because Purdue built its defensive game plan with Trey Wentz as the least of all evils. They wanted to take away the other guys and make that player beat them. When I go back and watch the video, I'm sure I'll see Purdue had its 5-man guarding him quite a bit because he was the guy they were the least bit afraid of, simply because he was unknown. I guess he just came eligible not all that long ago, so Purdue didn't know a whole lot about him, so Purdue was more than willing to pick Trey Wentz as the guy who would have to beat them. And I'm not going to say he damn near did, but he got like 27 points or something like that. Again, no printed box scores, which provides me nothing to fiddle with while I talk to you, nothing to refer to more importantly, but at least assures you that I will never devolve this season into read the box score guy, who is the whole, ooh, the scoreboard just turned on. I'm front lit now. How about that? Anyway, my inspiration for these rap videos was to be something a little bit more than read the box score guy. So now with no box score, there's nothing to read. So I won't have any trouble meeting that standard. I have badly diverted course here from this video. The last thing I wanted to talk about, and another really important thing from this, is how good Trevion Williams has been lately, and how good Eric Clapton, how good Eric Hunter was today. Those guys, along with Sasha Stefanovic, along with Aaron Wheeler, though his role isn't quite the same as the other guys, those are the guys who, again, we said at the start of the year, as good as the new guys are, this team only goes as far probably as its older players can take it. And, ever since the Miami game, when, they were atrocious in the second half, and all of those guys weren't very good. They got called out by their coach afterwards. The last 3 games, all those guys have been really good. Trevion Williams is playing at the preseason All-Big Ten level that was expected of him, not only by his teammates and coaches, but the people who actually made him preseason All-Big Ten. He's been phenomenal, and it's not as urgently needed because Zach Edey has been so productive, but it is needed still, and he has been everything the last 3 games that Purdue needs him to be. Eric Hunter, I thought, was a different player entirely tonight. I thought, from last season, and from the last 2 games, I guess. He just, again, he was in complete control of this game offensively. He had the ball on a string at times. He just was in command of this game, and the play there at the end when he kind of dribbled around and he was completely under control, dribbled around, hit Trevion Williams for, I think, a dunk. I can't remember the dunk they related in, but it was a big play and a big moment because that was one of the plays that really choked off Notre Dame's ability to make a run at the end and steal this game. Not that that was ever a viable threat, but it was never a viable threat because Purdue kept making plays like that. Eric Hunter made the 3-pointer after Notre Dame went on the 9-0 run to tie the game. Somebody named Khal Drogo or something like that. Nikola Jogo, I had never heard of him. He made back-to-back threes to tie the game. Eric Hunter responded with probably the biggest shot of the game, a 3-pointer that put Purdue back ahead for good. He was just phenomenal. 8 assists and no turnovers from your point guard in a game in which you score 88 points. Very rarely is that not a positive thing. In my experience covering basketball, and I'm not a genius, there's a lot of stuff about basketball I don't know. A lot of people know more about basketball than me, but in my experience, 8 assists and no turnovers in a game in which you score 88 points and win, that's a positive 99.9% of the time, and I don't even know what the 1% of 1% would be there. See, I was told there would be no math, and I shouldn't try to do math on the fly because it requires me to write stuff down. I need scribble paper. I need all sorts of things to be able to pull that off on the fly well, and I didn't. Anyway, Purdue's juniors were all really good today. Sasha Stefanovic, didn't even mention him. Only made 5 threes today. Just was really good. And, obviously, I can't mention a whole junior class because Aaron Wheeler obviously didn't produce the way the others did. But he did some positive things again today, too. And he is doing positive things consistently the last 3 games. He's rebounding at a really high level for a guy who's never going to just push people out of the way or just overpower them. He has been doing a nice job on the defensive end of the floor, I think, relative to his struggles there in the past, but he's rebounding at a really high level. he didn't, maybe not necessarily today, but he has done some other really positive things for the last couple of games. So the junior class, all relative to their place in Purdue's world, are trending upward, and they're doing so at a very important time. This happens to be the time of year where Purdue has kind of one way or another sort of figured it out at times. And, you know, it was that Notre Dame loss here a couple of years ago that was sort of the jumping off point for that Purdue team that went on to win the Big Ten and almost go to the Final Four. I'm not saying that's going to happen again. I'm not saying it was necessarily Notre Dame here that did it, but it's this time of year where Purdue has every now and then kind of just figured it out. And you kind of wonder if maybe the second half at Miami wasn't that moment for this team, especially now that it's whole. Now that Eric Hunter's back, playing well. Now that Jaden Ivey's back, looks good, you know, based off what he's been able to do in these last two games. You know, Purdue's got a lot going for it right now after these last couple of games. The Ohio State win was a big one. I think this win was a big one as well, and I think Purdue's trending upward right now, and trending upward at the right time. So this rap video is distinctly trending downward, so I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to stick the landing, and I'm going to remind you once again to check out the Purdue Union Club Hotel next time you're planning a trip to campus, hopefully for all our sakes for football weekends next year. Hopefully life is back to normal again, and that's something you might want to do. So Purdue Union Club Hotel, please check them out. From Bankers Life Fieldhouse, the dark side of the moon up here, way, way, way above the court. The curtains choking off all the light, except when the scoreboard's illuminated. This is Brian Neubert from goldenblack.com. Thank you for watching. Thank you for reading. Thank you for listening. And thank you for processing our materials, however it is you process our materials. I will talk to you again from the luxurious home office Tuesday night after Purdue plays at Iowa. I shouldn't even say at night. It'll be like 3 o'clock in the morning probably. So take care, everybody.